Another part of population growth to look into is immigration. A lot of people today complain about there being too much immigration, but is it really as bad as it sounds like? Let's start off with the United States total population. Using the dates 1995, 2000, 2005, 2010, 2015, 2020, and today, we can find the United States population is 268, 281, 295, 311, 326, 339, and 345 million. With this, we can find that the population growth starting in the year 2000 is 13, 14, 16, 15, 13, and 6 million. Now it's important to see what the population growth would be based solely on births and deaths. Starting in 1995, births in the United States would be 20, 19.7, 20.3, 20.9, 19.8, 18.9, and 7.3 million. Starting in 2005, deaths would be 12.1, 12.2, 12.9, 14.6, and 6.7 million. Overall, between 2005 and today, that would be a growth rate of 8.23, 8.74, 6.8, 4.32, and 0.6 million. That means the United States is able to rely on births to keep the population growing, but that reliance is quickly waning. Between 2005 and today, births only made up 58.8, 54.6, 45.3, 33.2, and 10% of the population growth. So how much of an impact does legal immigration have on keeping the population growth high? Starting in 1995, the population growth of immigrants in the United States was 5.23, 4.57, 5.74, 6.72, 6.19, 6.02, 3.51 million. Although the United States cannot specifically rely on immigration alone, it does bring up the total population growth between 2005 and today to 13.9, 15.4, 12.9, 10.3, and 4.11 million. This means that between 2005 and today, immigration combined with birth makes up 99.8, 96.6, 86.8, 79.6, and 68.5% of the total population. While you may or may not like it, the United States needs to keep an influx of immigrants coming into the country to continue having high population growth while also having low birth rates. But why doesn't this new total make up 100% every time? It's due to illegal immigration. With this data, I found the total number of illegal immigrants counted as citizens between 2005 and today is 0.02, 0.53, 2, 2.64, and 1.88 million. This means our population growth is 0.15, 3.35, 13.3, 20.3, and 31.4% illegal immigrants. While the topic of this podcast isn't about fighting immigration, it is fascinating to see that 1 out of 3 new people in the United States are illegal immigrants. An aspect that needs to be understood very well is how people in the West view having children. I say this because there has to be a reason behind shrinking birth rates. According to Statistica, using the dates 1970, 1980, 1990, 2000, 2010, 2020, and today, we can see the percent of households with children is 56, 52, 49, 48, 45, 39, and 40%. Overall, that's a 16% decrease of people who say they have children, but we need to look a bit deeper to understand how this came to be. Pew Research published a good poll that helps us understand why less and less people are having children. According to the poll, only 47% of adults believe that not having children is a bad thing. That in itself is bad because that means a majority, or 53% of Americans, don't see any harm in not having children. 54% of men and 42% of women think not having children is bad. People aged 65 plus are 56%, 50 through 64 is 50%, 29 through 49 is 45%, and 18 through 29 is 39%. This means with every generation, people see having children to have less of an importance for society. What's really damning to hear is that 60% of Republicans view not having children as bad, while only 37% of Democrats see it negatively. What this says is that among young Democrats, there has brewed a culture of childlessness. This culture brought the fall of birth rates within the United States. Now that we know who doesn't want children, it's important to know why people aren't having children. According to a Pew Research poll, 56% of childless people say they just don't want children. On the other hand, 43% of childless people say they actually have a reason for not having children. And this is what is important to look at. First is for medical reasons. PCOS is the leading cause for women to become infertile, but the real issue is how women are most likely to get PCOS. According to MayoClinic.org, obesity is the leading cause for women to get PCOS. Using the dates 2012, 2014, 2016, 2018, 2020, and today, we can see that obesity rates among women are 25.1, 27.2, 27.5, 30.5, 31.1, and 34%. This means that over 1/3 of all women are at risk of becoming infertile. The second concern is the cost of raising a child. On retireby40.org, someone actually did something pretty cool and informative. What they did was record the cost of raising their child every year. From birth to 12 years old, it costs 5, 7.1, 2.3, 5.1, 5.4, 4.2, 5.2, 5, 3.1, 2.9, 2.2, 8.2, and $13,000. So far, they have spent $68,700 on their child and still have another 6 years to go. This is something you can't critique someone about because it is mostly out of their control. The only way to really combat this is by bringing down the cost of living overall. Third is having no partner. According to Pew Research, in 1990, 29% of people claimed to be single, but in 2019, 38% of people claimed to be single. I'm currently writing the script about polarization where I go into depth about why people date less than they used to. To keep this from dragging on and to prevent myself from having to rewrite that script again, all I'm gonna say is stay tuned for when that episode comes out. Fourth is age. Pew Research polled people in 1994 to see what age people were having children. Using the ages 19, 24, 29, 34, and 44 years old, 22, 53, 72, 80, and 83% of women had children. They then did the survey again in 2019 and found that 13, 39, 61, 77, and 85% of women had children. By the time over half of women already had children in 1994, in 2019, that was only over 1/3 of women. It is very risky to wait too long to have children due to the chance of something that comes up that permanently prevents you from having children. I'm not saying you should have children the second you turn 18, but you shouldn't wait until your life is halfway over to have kids. I'm going to play a video of how bad war has been between the year 2000 and today. I completely understand where people come from. We are currently in the most war-torn years since the year 2000. Whatever happened between 2017 and 2022 needs to be studied because that was the most peaceful era, not just in the 21st century, but of my lifetime. The final two are climate change and their partner not wanting to have kids. With your partner not wanting to have kids, the only thing you can really do is ditch them and find someone who actually wants to settle down and start a family. With climate change, that makes absolutely no sense to me. Overall, what needs to be done is two things. The first is that here in the United States, we need to improve our physical health so we don't end up preventing our ability to reproduce. Too many people my age think of starting a family as a nuisance, preventing them from being able to party, sleep around, and travel constantly. Family is something you should be proud of. You should be proud to have a healthy relationship with your wife or husband, and you should be proud of the children you give birth to. You should be proud of the effort you make into raising a child or loving your child. The loss of the nuclear family is the death of the Western society. With the inventions of new technologies and medicines, life has become easier to live. This has made it to where historically the population has boomed. Today we live in some of the easiest times to live in, but for some reason, population growth around the world has begun to slow. This is most prominent in the top 10 most populated nations. Populations have begun to slow due to the decline of birth rates. In the United States, birth rates have gotten so bad that we have to rely on immigration to keep our populations growing at a strong rate. The reason for why not just the United States, but the entire world has declining birth rates is for two reasons. The first reason is that people are not taking care of themselves as well as they used to. This risks the chance of not just becoming unattractive, but creates the risk of becoming infertile. The second is a new culture that has emerged in the West where people refuse to have children. In the end, to prevent a global population collapse, we need to start focusing on our health so that we are able to produce offspring efficiently. And most importantly, we need to stop thinking that it is alright to not have children, because this one culture is directly in charge of the future population crisis. I want to thank you for watching this episode. If you think I got something wrong, let me know in the comments. If you want me to look into a specific topic, also let me know in the comments. Subscribe if you enjoy this kind of long-form content. Subscribe to my Clips channel if you prefer to watch shorter segmented forms of this podcast. And finally, subscribe to my Shorts channel if you only want to hear my most informative quotes. Links to all my channels are in the description. Links to all my sources are in the description. The next podcast will be about the book Animal Farm by George Orwell, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, I will see you next time.